I found it on Rhema Radio.
Hi, this is Jason, the station director of Rhema Radio. I want to thank you for your support in making the ministry what it is today. Since our launch in 2016, we've consistently released 2 shows weekly. We've featured sermons and songs from churches and talents all across Malaysia. We've been privileged to have on our shows thought leaders from education, family, government, arts, media, business, and the church. Our mission field is the digital space. Our task is to create and curate content that is God-inspired and relevant to the world we live in today, to be a platform for kingdom unity, to be a resource center for the coming famine that is not of food and water, but of God's Word. This is our assignment, and we have experienced the grace of God upon us to do this. So many testimonies have been birthed out of this ministry. We want to reach a wider audience and be a blessing to more, but we need your support. At the moment, Rhema Radio is not backed by any one church, organization, or business. It is powered by volunteers. While I'm encouraged by the handful of supporters who have given, we need more partners. If you believe there is a need for positive, faith-inspired Malaysian content, why don't you consider partnering with us? Go to rhema.io/support to find out more. Our prayer is that we connect with the right partners and together let's sow into the digital mission field and impact lives far and wide. God bless.
Hi friends, this week's midweek service sermon was from Chow Chian at PJEFC, entitled Working Like a Dog. Look out for that. And now for this week's interview.
Hey everyone, you're listening to Rhema Radio, the weekly podcast on faith, culture, music and more. And as usual, this is Jason Ding. And for those of you who know me, we would know that music is a really important thing in my life. Growing up, I've always been into music and I started a band. In fact, I started a few bands and I went through the whole band journey thing. And on my journey as in a band and having writing songs and playing gigs, I meet different interesting people. But the climate in Malaysia is such that not all of us go very far. Sometimes we stop halfway. Sometimes we through our commitments and getting married and this and that. The bands like my own band, Unabashed, we didn't go the full distance because of the realities of life. But then I sometimes, once in a while, we just see those who went ahead and I always wonder how far we could go. And I, through Facebook, I would see this one band which I've seen gone the distance, who kept at it and who is really committed and their tenacity is admirable. And I'm talking to none other than the band Beat the System, right? And in the studio today, I have one of the founders of Beat the System and the drummer, Gerald Storm.
What's up, people?
What's up? What's up? So Gerald's a Malaysian Banting boy, done good. He's gone over to New York and he's playing shows in New York and released a single there and YouTube more than 500,000, and he's doing big things. And we've had this privilege of getting him into the studio in his short trip here in Malaysia. It's been 2 years since you're back here.
Yes, 2 years.
What took you so long, brother?
I know, you have to ask my mom about that. She's pretty upset.
Okay. So Banting. Okay, let's go from the beginning. Yeah.
All
so
right.
The band started in 2005.
Yes.
Who was the lineup then?
So it was basically Stuart, which is my brother, myself, and we had Sam, Suresh, and I think it was Justin. We were all in church.
Sure.
We started there.
In Banting, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Justin and we were from Banting,
Sure.
and then my brother and the rest of the guys were from JB.
I see.
So because they were studying there.
Right.
So that's how it got started, and then we started from there, and then
And who came up with the name Beat the System?
That's my brother.
What system are you trying to break?
All right.
Or beat.
Mentality,
Okay.
basically was that because, we came from Indian backgrounds, right? So there's this thing with Indian people where if you say like you're doing music, they have this idea like, you are doing drugs, you're doing bad things, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to study, you're not going to have a degree, that kind of thing.
I would imagine not much different from America and Hollywood when you're into hip-hop. And then at one point you'll be like, you'll be associated with all those things as well.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So, and then what we wanted to do was basically to show them that all that can be done and yet you can still do music in a very positive manner. And that's exactly what we did. So, we went to college, we, had a degree, but we still pursued music. So,
I see.
Yep.
Yeah, and you kept at it from 2005 till now. So that's very admirable.
Yes.
It's been more than, 12 years now? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so since then, you stayed as a band, and how active were you guys back then in those days?
So you mean in Malaysia,
In
right?
Malaysia,
Yeah,
yeah.
we were pretty active actually. We played a lot of shows, like hundreds of them everywhere. But I kind of felt like, it came to a point we felt like, okay, we are playing shows, but what's next?
Sure.
So and then
What's more to
what's more to it,
this
right?
journey?
And the thing is, one thing we have to admit, like music wasn't a big industry here yet,
Yeah.
but it's growing, and people it's just not in the culture. Like when we are in America, we realize like it's part of their culture. Like you have to go for shows and all. That's why it can sustain. Here it's a bit different.
Yeah.
So people, it's more of hobby and all that.
Yeah.
So and then we decided, okay, let's stop this for now. It's not working here.
Yeah.
Let's start focusing on like writing, getting materials, and get ourselves heard like where we want to be. And that's how we got the attention of this person, Diana Melzer.
Sorry, before we go into Diana,
Yeah.
which is why I alluded on to
Yeah.
earlier about having a scene, a support in Malaysia where we can actually thrive, and we didn't really have that then, and it's true. It's even now, it's a challenge. I was just recalling back because connecting with you, I'm just recalling the times that we shared the stage together at one point. There was one also in Tabernacle of David. We did a music event, music fest.
POD, yeah. That's Andrew's place, right?
Andrew's place,
Yes,
Andrew Tan, and then we did a gig there, and then
Yes.
lots of different bands. That was quite an eye-opening, right?
Yes.
From different churches, they came
That
together.
was a very good show,
Yeah.
actually. I remember that. Yeah.
So so we shared the stage, and I was with Anabash, and you guys would be the system, and then later on we did a side gig together. In SS2 in a small little cafe.
Yeah, it was
place.
upstairs.
Yeah, that was fun. So going back to the support in Malaysia, and I feel that it's true. It's not that we don't have talents, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's not. It's
Right.
not. We realized that actually we have like tremendous amount of talents. It's just that there isn't a place where you can nurture them. Yeah, so that's where it usually like
Stops.
Yeah, it stops there.
And if you don't have nurture, if you don't have support from the grassroots, from the community, and it's hard to keep going.
Yes,
and that's why people will always say, then you're going to look beyond shores.
Yes.
And that makes sense for
Yeah.
now. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Gerald Storm about how he made that big leap
Yep.
to the US and living it up.
Oh yeah.
Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Lance Wong from BNP Ministry. This year, we're going to organize a business and professional conference on the 24th to 25th August 2018. The topic will be trends shaping the future. If you are a businessman, a professional, if you want to know what is happening in the next 5 to 10 years, do come to our conference. We have some of the best speakers in Malaysia and in Singapore. A speaker like Roshan Tiran, Dr. Peter Ng from UCSI, Prof. Nyo Boon Siang from NTU Universities. Do come to our conference. Please sign up at www.bmpministries.org.
Hey, welcome back to Rhema Radio, the weekly podcast on faith, culture, music, and more. And with me in the studio is Gerald Storm, the founding member of Beat the System.
What's up, people?
What's up? Okay, so before the break, we were talking about how you made that leap to the US, and I myself was a bit shocked. Wow, Gerald's still doing music, and he's now in the US, and he's playing gigs, and he's hanging out with guys from Creed and Evanescence, and what is
Not
happening?
gonna complain about that.
So talk to us. How did that journey start? And from my understanding just now, conversation, it didn't happen overnight. Although it seemed like suddenly, but you had a journey behind the scenes that before you made that
It actually
fly.
took pretty long, actually. Yeah. I'll go to the beginning of it. When I was 15 years old, I actually heard Creed for the very first time, and I remember being so blown away by them. So I actually went, back then I didn't have a computer in my house, so I actually went to the cyber cafe, and I actually checked on Yahoo. There wasn't Google at the time, so checked like who discovered Creed, because I've always been the kind of person who likes to read about the people behind the scenes, right? The ones that makes it happen. So, and I saw this name came out, Diana Melzer, and I was like, oh, I've always known I was gonna do music, right? So I remember at 15, I was sitting at this cafe, and I was like, God, if I were to make music, I want her to discover us. And fast forward years later, we actually got in touch.
Wow.
And I remember receiving this call from New York, and I was a contractor for telecom, and I remember I got this call, and I was like, hello. And she was like, is this Gerald? And I'm like, yeah, this is Gerald. And I was like, who's this? And she was like, this is Diana. And I was like, Diana who? She was like, this is Diana Melzer. I was like, oh my. I was so blown away.
Yeah.
So I remember telling my intern guys, like, okay, guys, you guys are on your own. I need to get this. So, and then, we started talking and she was like, telling us a lot of things. But the thing is, the conversation took 3 years before we actually made the move. She called us actively and we called her and she was telling us what to do, this and that. And then one day she just decided, you know what, I really believe in you guys. So I'm going to come to Malaysia. And she actually flew down to Malaysia and stayed with us for a month.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's exactly how she signed all the other acts, like Creed, Evanescence and all the other acts. Like she actually went to their house and actually met the parents. Like she wants to gauge like what kind of person you are. So before she came, she's a multi-millionaire there, right? Like one of the big VIPs there. But she told me like, when I get there, I don't want to be staying in a hotel. I want to meet your parents. I want to stay in your house. I was like, all right, let's do that. So she came, stayed with us for a month. She just loved us so much. She gave us a lot of pointers. And that's when the whole thing started to initiate like, okay, let's do this. Let's go to the US.
That is so amazing. I mean, to even have a dream so big at 15.
Yes.
Wanting to be discovered by this specific person.
Yes.
And then I'm just also blown away at how she came to contact you. I mean, what was it? Did she ever share? Why she actually made that call?
So at that time, she was one of the co-founders for Wind Up Records. So I remember researching a lot about them. And when I called Wind Up Records, she actually left the label because, there was a fallout between her husband and her. So she left. So I remember speaking to the admin clerk. Her name is Nicole. And I was like, Nicole, how do I get in touch with her? And she was like, I don't know, but I do have an old email. And she gave me that. And I was like, okay, let me do that. And I actually sent to a lot of other A&R as well. But hers was like priority, right? So I sent it to her. And a year later, she found that email. It was a year. And
Amazing.
that's when she actually called me and she was like, I saw your email and I heard your stuff. I really think you guys have potential. And yeah, that's how it started. So yeah, it was a year later actually.
And that's what I like about you guys. You hustle.
Oh, we have to.
It's not just what happens on stage, and
Yeah.
it's just not just the songs you write and
Yeah.
the music. For a band like yourself to work, you really need to hustle in the behind the scenes, just making that calls, the emails, and never underestimate where that email will lead to.
Exactly.
And in your case, in the point, she picked up that email and
Yes.
she even made that call and even flew down to Malaysia.
Exactly.
That is mind blowing.
And lived here for a month.
For a month.
She just fell in love with the culture and the whole
Right,
country.
right.
She was
And-
like, she was telling me like, Gerald, maybe I should move here, sell off my old thing. I was like, no, Diana, you shouldn't be moving here. You should bring us there.
And just to paint some context here, this is the same person that discovered Creed,
Evanescence, Cedar, Finger 11, Drowning
yeah.
Pool. Yeah.
And so you were saying that she had already discovered all these people, and then now she's on to this Malaysian band,
Yes.
small-time Malaysian band.
So the other band that she signed was Cedar. They were from South Africa.
All right.
And I think the Finger 11, they were from Canada.
I love Finger 11.
Yeah, so they are from Canada. And us.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. So then what happened? So she went back.
Okay,
and
so
then
she went back.
It was a 3-year conversation.
3 years, right? So this is where it's going to get very, like you can see how God has actually opened a lot of ways. Before she came, what she told me was, okay, Gerald, we have been talking for a long time. I really believe in you guys. Why don't you come to the US and maybe get a visitor visa or business visa? Just come here and see if you can adapt to the culture, because she actually have certain experience working with bands where she signed and then they couldn't adapt to the culture and they left. So it happened even with like American bands. So I was like, all right, I mean, if she's going to invest so much resources and money and all that, of course, she needs to make sure we can deal with that, right? So me being me, booked an appointment with the US Embassy, got all these letters and everything. I went there. I was like, okay, I'm just trying to get a tourist visa. And I really didn't expect to have any issues with, especially I had a good job and everything was just good. So I went there and I got rejected. So now this was I was very shaken, because this has been my dream since I was 8 years old to pursue music. And the fact that I can't even get there now, makes me question a lot of things. So I came out, I called Diana. I was like, Diana, they rejected me. And she was like, oh no, I think they made a mistake. Book another appointment. I'll get my lawyers to send you all the letters, whatever you need. And then you should be able to come here. So I was like, all right, that's positive. So I went back, get another appointment, and she sent me all the paperwork and everything. And then what happened was I went a month later and I got rejected again. Now this was a very low point in my life. I remember coming up from the embassy, I sat in my car and I just cried. It was like, God, like you gave me this dream, you gave me this talent, like, but I can't even get there. Like you gave me this desire, right? So like, why? What's happening? And so that was in the morning. I drove back straight home and I was very mad and I was upset, I was sad. And my mom was like, so what happened? I was like, do I look happy? Of course I don't look happy. Like, why would you even ask that? She was like, don't worry, God will, God will make a way. And I was like, I don't want to hear about God right now. And she was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, you need to drive me to this prayer meeting in PJ. I was like, okay. I wasn't in the mood. I was like, Mom, I really don't want to go anywhere. I just want to go to my room, crawl up at a corner and just, be upset. She was like, no, you need to drive me because I'm serving there. I was like, being the good son, you gotta, send your mom. So I was like, all right, let me do that. So I actually drove her in the evening and then we were there and there was this guest speaker. It was a small gathering of like 100 people. And I was sitting there. I wasn't even paying attention to this guest speaker. I've never even seen him. I was just on my phone. I was like literally researching like what do I do in this this whole visa thing.
Yeah.
And out of a sudden, like from the stage, he just pointed at me and it was like, you brother over there, can you stand up? And my mom, I wasn't even paying attention. My mom was like, he's calling you. I was like,
because your mind is in US.
Yeah, I was like, I
your
can't get
body
there.
and your body is here in this prayer meeting.
I know.
What in the world?
I
Right?
know. And I was like, oh. So I actually literally thought like he was upset with me because I was like,
Not
on my
really there.
phone.
Oh, okay, your phone. Okay.
On my phone, and he was like, I thought, oh my God, he's going to do this like live. Like everyone is going to hear it. And he said, you brother, God has a word for you. Read Genesis 39. Now, I had Bible app and all that right there. But so when I heard that, I was like, oh, sure, I'll do it. But I didn't read it then. I was like, I'll just do it later.
And I
So-
know this verse. It's Joseph, isn't it?
Yes. So everyone heard it, right? It was so public. So I drove back after that. We drove back and I went to my room. My mom went to her room. The first thing I did was, okay, let's take the Bible and see what is this about. And it was about the story of Joseph where, God took him out from his home and then brought him to Egypt. And there was a lot of things, but then he was so faithful to God that he became the prime minister of Egypt, like the second most powerful person. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that looks like my story. So of course, Egypt back then is like New York now, right? The most, advanced civilization. So I was like, all right, I guess that's me, Okay, so I was like there was so much hope back. And I said, okay. But the thing is, during this period of life, what brought me close to God was actually, there was this healing thing that took place. So that's when I actually became very close to God. I actually was born in a Christian family. But what happened was, in my teenage years, I served like since I was young, and I actually got burnt out, right? And I actually stopped going to church. And then what happened was God decided to reveal himself. So I actually had a condition with my back. I actually had a condition for 6 years. So, and I went to like doctors, like my sister is a doctor. Even she said that I have x-rays to prove and everything. And my backbone was misaligned. So there was constant pain every second of my life, like every day, right? So, and the doctor said, like, you can correct it with the surgery, but the thing is, there's a 50% chance of you being paralyzed. Knowing me, I'm pretty sure I'll be paralyzed. So I was like, you know what? No thanks. I'm not doing it. I'll just live with it. So like even my sister, like all these other doctors, they were like, okay, I mean, you can, to reduce the pain, you probably can do like physiotherapy and all, but it's not a solution.
Let me stop you just for a bit.
Yeah.
So with this back condition, you were also on the drums.
Yeah.
And being in the same, sitting in the drum position, playing it,
Yes.
I imagine it's not easy.
It wasn't easy. It was very uncomfortable, and it's like there's always ache. Like that's why I need to drink a lot of Red Bull before that.
Oh no, that's your secret. Okay.
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So what happened was, for 6 years I had it, and then the last 2 years I kind of stopped going to church and all that. I guess it was part of all this. And then
Disappointment,
and then also because I think I started working as an engineer, right? And then you are trained to think very logically. So that's where you start to like rule out all this superstitious thing. You just get over yourself. Like you think you're too smart for all this kind of thing. So one day, it was the same prayer meeting. My mother did the same thing, asked me to drive her there. And my dad met us there. And right after the whole service, she actually told this pastor, was like, Pastor, my son has this condition. Can you pray for him? He was like, okay, what's wrong with him? And so she explained the whole thing. And he was like, oh, okay. So he asked me to stand straight, like my legs closed, and stand straight, and asked me to stretch my arm like this and bring it closer. So when I brought it close, I realized like my right arm were like shorter than my left. He was like, see, that means your backbone is misaligned. So in my heart, I was like, I know. That's what the doctors told me. You don't have to rub it on me,
Right. Right.
And he was like, okay. So I was still standing in that position, and he was like, but do you believe Jesus can heal you? Honestly speaking, in my heart, no. Because I didn't believe in like God or anything like that.
Point in your life.
Yeah, I was like, And obviously, but the thing is, I had to say yes because my mom and dad were standing right there. So I had, I don't want to piss them off or anything like that. So I said, yeah, sure, And he said, okay, let's pray then. But he asked me to remain in that same position. And he started praying. So, of course, has a habit, like when people say pray, you bow down your head and you just close your eyes. I wasn't praying to anyone. Like, in less than 10 seconds, I actually felt something grab my arm. Amazing. Like, my right arm. So, I was startled. Obviously, you'll think it's the pastor, right?
Yeah.
So, I actually looked up to look. No one was touching me. They were just praying, but no one was touching me, and I'm still feeling that pull. It was very intense. And I started to shiver now because I'm trying to think logically, like, how is this happening? Like, what's happening to me? Like, it was so strong. So he prayed, and I was like, I'm trembling there. I'm like shivering. I needed to sit and all that. And he said amen. It was like less than 2 minutes. And he said, okay, now bring it back like that, and then bring it closer. And I realized both arms were at the same length.
Praise God.
And that moment, I realized the pain that I've had for 6 years disappeared. Until now, I've not had that now.
Amazing.
So that was my turning point. That's when I realized, you know what, there is a God. Yes, I have a lot of questions, but, faith, right? And that's how my walk with God started. So it wasn't because my family was Christian or anything, because I actually encountered it personally. So yeah, and then same thing, and then this visa thing, going back to the first question. Yeah, and then I was rejected twice, but when I saw the Bible verse, right? Okay, what happened was the easiest visa to get to the US is a tourist visa, right? We couldn't get that. And the hardest visa to get is an artist visa. Right after we actually got rejected, I got rejected, they actually granted us an artist visa, which is the hardest visa to get in the US immigration system. And that's the same visa that Adele, Sam Smith, and all uses. So, and then we actually found out from the embassy that was the first time they actually gave that visa to a band. Amazing. So we were actually the first band from Malaysia to actually get that. Yeah. So God really works mysteriously.
He came through
and I actually found the answer for why I didn't get the tourist visa. Like, I actually asked questions, and God actually revealed it to me. So
really amazing story, and seriously, even as you're sharing, before even you see Genesis 39, I was thinking, wow, such a parallel with Joseph's story.
Yes.
Where we're having a dream and being denied time and time again, because God has something better in store. And even why you were denied, there's a reason behind it.
There was a reason. I actually found out the answer.
So as we're going to take a break now, when we come back, Gerald, let's talk more about the reason behind that denial, and also a bit more about his stories in the US, in New York, in his being a big time rock band in the US. All right, so stay tuned.
All right.
Did you know that 1 in 10 children in Malaysia are sexually abused? Suryana Welfare Society proactively protects children. We welcome volunteers and contributions to our organization. You can contact us at 1-800-882200 or through our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Suryana Welfare Society, to find out more information.
Hey, welcome back everyone. You're listening to Rhema Radio, the weekly podcast on faith, culture, music and more. And we've been listening and hearing the very interesting story of Gerald Storm and how he from Banting made the journey, the big leap to the US and is now a recording artist there with the band Beat the System. All right, so you were sharing with us earlier about why you were denied entry into the US because of the visa issue, and you did not get the tourist visa, but you got the artist visa.
Yes.
Yeah. And what was revealed to you?
All right. So 2 weeks after I was rejected, right? So I developed this habit of asking God, like, why? And usually it happens in my car, my favorite place anyway. So as 2 weeks later, so if my visa was approved, I was supposed to be in the States. And so the arrangement was I was supposed to be living in Diana's guest room, right? And the thing is, she lives alone and her assistant only works in the daytime. So I was supposed to be with her, like, in the guest room. So, but the thing is, I actually started asking God, because Bible says, ask and you shall receive, right? So I started asking God, and I was like, God, why didn't you give me this visa? And 2 weeks later, she actually called me and she's like, Gerald, do you know what happened? I was like, what? My ring that's worth 250 grand is missing from in my house. So when she told me that, I immediately heard something in my head saying that, see, that's why you didn't go. And I was like, oh. And she started telling me like it was supposed to be like in a room and it just went missing and there was no one there. And I was supposed to be staying there. So now imagine if I were to be there.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to look like the prime suspect. Like imagine I'm a single guy from a third world country, like, the whole thing. But the thing is, so I was so shocked to the point that I actually told her, Diana, thank God I'm not there. She was like, why? I said, imagine I was there. It's going to look
and the ring was missing. You would be the immediate.
Exactly. I look like the culprit, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I would never do that. So I actually told her, Diana, when it comes to money, it makes you think crazy things. And she was like, and then I put down the phone. I came out and I told my mom, do you know what Diana just told me? So I told her, ring, blah, 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 missing. She was like, oh my, thank God you are not there. And she said the exact same thing. So I came in and called my bandmate Adrian. I was like, so he's my best friend. I share with him everything, right? So I was like, Adrian, you know what Diana just told me? Said the same thing, and he was like, oh my, thank God you are not there. So I knew that was the answer. Like, God actually protected me from, something like that happening.
And it's true that God works in mysterious ways, but He doesn't always reveal His ways. And when He revealed it to you, He's telling you something, brother.
Exactly, and He gave us something way better, which is an artist visa, because this visa actually qualifies us to get a green card in 3 years. So, and the thing is, like, this year we can actually get our green card. So, which is like, so thank God.
So your current lineup, of course, is yourself. You are songwriting and on the drums, and then Stuart, your brother, which is on electric guitar, which is an amazing guitarist. I've played with him, and I can vouch for his excellent skills. May Lei is the lead vocalist, and Adrian Puan is the songwriter. He's behind the scenes. So tell me how this current lineup came to be.
All right, so this lineup, okay, so it was my brother and I. So we have always been in the band. Way back. And then
May joined in 2015.
So when I actually got in touch with Diana, we actually had a song on radio and actually did pretty well. But for some reason, so we didn't write it. We actually had another person write it. For some reason, I always felt like it still wasn't the best of us, right? Sure. And so when Diana called me the very first time, that's exactly what she said. She said, you guys have potential. The song that you sent me is a good song, but I don't think it's a great song. Now, that was the moment I knew, like, she has to be the one, because you want someone to tell you. Like, if you
truthfully,
need...
the brutal, honest...
Exactly. So what happened was, I was, like, trying so hard to impress her that I told her, you know what, Diana? Let me write you a song, and I'll send it to you within these 2 weeks, and I'll show you what we are capable of. And... after I put down the phone, I was like, okay, what did I commit myself into now? Like, and then, so I remember, because I've never written any song or anything like that. So I was driving. It was very close to Summit, actually, right? I was heading towards Kesasa way. And I remember praying to God, like, God, either you send us, like, a great songwriter, or maybe, like, give us this gift. And as I was turning, I remember getting this melody and lyric. It just came. It was so sudden to the point where I actually stopped my car by the roadside and I actually took my phone and I recorded that. And I knew Adrian has the ear to identify, like, top hit songs, right? Like, he has always proven himself to me. So what happened was I started working on this. Like, I just had this thing, and when I met him a couple of days later, I was like, Adrian, what do you think about this? So when I actually sang that melody to him, he was like, this is a very, very great song.
Hit song material.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, are you sure you're not just being a good friend? He was like, no, I don't do that. I was like, all right. So we started working on the demo. So I sent it to her, and she called me immediately right after, and she said, Gerald, this song is as great as all the bands that I've signed. Now, we are talking about Creed and Evanescence. So when she told me that, I was like, oh, wow.
It's no small compliment coming from Diane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I knew for a fact that I didn't write it because it came to me.
Inspiration.
Yeah, it wasn't that I sat somewhere and started working on. No, it just came, like the melody and the lyrics. So same thing. And I got so excited to the point I said, you know what, Diana? I'm going to send 10 more of this. And in a month. And after I put down the phone, I realized, oh, okay, I can't do that. It has to be equally good.
Yeah.
So I started praying, like, God, I need some help. Like, maybe I can do 5, and then I need another 5 from someone else in the band. And that's when Adrian started to have this, because Adrian doesn't play any musical instrument or anything. He doesn't do any of that.
Right.
But he actually have been praying to God, like he wanted to be more involved with the band. And he said he received this music and lyrics, and it just came. So one day he said, Gerald, I don't know why, but I received this. So
you received the download as well?
Yes, exactly. And I was driving, and I said, oh, why don't you sing it? And I remember hearing it, and I was like, you wrote that? That's pretty good. That's actually very good. So we started working. In a month. We actually did 10 songs, and I sent it to Diana, and she was like so blown away. She said, every single song sounds like a hit. So we knew that it wasn't us. We knew that came from God, because that's the only thing we did. We prayed. And so that's why we are very proud of our product, because we didn't do it. Sure. It's God's product, right? So, and yeah, so that's how he came. And then when we went there, we actually didn't have a singer. Diana said, okay, I believe in your band, but, we need to get a different singer and everything. So we went there, and she introduced us to Melee. The moment we heard her, we like, okay, she's in. Like, she's so good. Yeah. And then we started working. The chemistry was so good. And we started. That's how, the band came
listening
about.
to May's voice, she has a certain quality, a certain strength from within.
Yes.
Like there's a certain, it comes from someplace. And I feel that
she actually started like from Disney and all that.
Oh,
so yeah, she's from Florida anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, another one name I missed out is Mario Leong.
Yes.
So he's the keyboardist in the band.
So Mario is my music partner here in Malaysia. We actually have a studio in Kampa. So that's where we actually recorded all our demos and everything. So
Right. But in the US, it's yourself, Stuart, May, and Adrian in the back scene. All right. Okay. So tell us a bit more about the life in New York and in the scene there. You had a poster in Times Square.
Yeah, we actually had our pictures, like a promo thing came out on the billboard in Times Square. That was like a dream come true. And the
then
thing
you did a gig around that area as well?
Yeah, we actually, in fact, our first show in New York was a sold-out show.
Amazing.
It was sold out, and it was a big play.
Where was this?
This was in East Village. Sure. It's in Drome NYC. It was a very good space, and we were actually very
intimidated maybe?
Because no, it wasn't. Actually, we felt very comfortable. For some reason, one thing about the US, like they really appreciate what you do, and they make you feel very comfortable. They're very accepting, especially if you tell them like you are an actor, actress, or you're a musician. They're like, oh, and they're like literally like will listen to your stuff immediately, like right there, and they'll be, oh, that's really good stuff. They're very encouraging.
Probably because they know it's not easy.
It is, yeah. Of course, they're very like, these are people from different line. They are like doctors, they're like vets and all, but they still like give that kind of respect to you. So yeah, they're very supportive.
And how is it like meeting your heroes? you told me at 15 you were a fan of Creed.
Yes.
So how was that meeting Scott Stapp and Mike Tremonti and the people?
It was dream come true. And in fact, it was better than that, because I remember. So I met Scott Stapp.
Yeah.
He was doing a tour, and so Diana told him that, okay, Scott, I'm bringing this band. I just signed them. Blah blah blah. And he was like, yeah. And then we were at this venue, and he was like, okay, bring that guy into my tour bus. So I actually went into like experience the whole thing. He was like, so this is my bus. He was showing me the whole thing. I was like, I met his wife, his kids, and like it was awesome. And then I met the guitarist after that. Yeah. So he was doing a show. I think it was Alter Bridge or his own show. Sure. And Mark Tremonti, and he was very nice as well. He was like, oh dude, that's, even though like different styles of music, one thing I like about them is they really, like, you can be doing pop, you can be doing jazz, they are doing rock.
They're accepting, they respect it all.
Yes, they respect it all. They're very supportive. And I actually followed Mark on tour in Europe, and it was amazing. Like you can actually see it firsthand, like how they do it. Just for me to learn, it was amazing.
And
it was
I'm recalling you, the 15-year-old Gerald,
I know.
just having this simple prayer, one day wanting to do this big
And now I'm
dreams,
sitting with
and now
them
you're
in the
living
tour
it out.
bus, traveling and all. It's crazy. I also met the guys from Cedar, and it was amazing. Yeah, no complaints about that.
So tell me a bit about Be Your Own. So
Alright.
your single that's been out now. How's the critical reception of
Okay.
it, and what's it about? I mean, it sounds like a very positive tune. I
It
listened
is.
to it just
It
now.
is actually a very positive tune. Okay, it's about being your own. Okay, one thing we realized once we go to the States, there are a lot of people there. Okay, when we tell them that we are Christians, they have this because right now a lot of them are atheists, like they don't believe in God and all that. So when you tell them that you're Christian and all, it's a very unpopular opinion,
Standpoint,
right?
yeah.
Standpoint. So, but the thing is, we want to be very vocal about that. And when we started working on our materials, there were a couple of producers. Not our current producers, but a couple of producers that came to us and said, because there's certain lines in the song that says the word heaven and all that, right? And they were like, oh, you want to remove all that because you don't want to be offensive to people and all. So, but the thing is, we didn't want to do that because we know our journey is because of God. Like, God was the one who brought us here. So, of course, we need to
Honor
fight.
him.
Yeah, of course, we have to fight for him and honor him. And so we said, no, we had to, we have to be our own. Like, this is what we are. And we also realized so many people out there, they're trying so hard to succumb to the society's pressure. But the thing is, they themselves are good as who they are. They're unique in their own way. God made each and everyone, unique and perfect in their own ways. Yeah, and that's the song about. It's end of the day, if you really look at it, it's about being yourself and trusting God. It's all our songs are like that. It has to be about, if you really look at it, it all leads back to the person upstairs. So yeah, that's the song about. The reception is exceptionally good. We just started a radio campaign 3 months ago. We have more than 50 radios in the States playing now. In fact, March mid, we're actually starting our radio tour. It will be in Florida, and then once we do, and then we will go to West Coast, Midwest, Central, East Coast. Once that is done, then we are actually planning our North America tour, and we are currently in talks with the management from Maroon 5, maybe to go on tour with them as a supporting act.
Great.
So
great.
yeah,
So opening up for Maroon 5.
yeah,
now.
very similar, fans.
Okay. Okay. So besides that, what else is next for you guys? What are your hopes for the band? I mean, how far are you going to take this?
Oh, all the way. When people ask me where do you see yourself, I'll be like, okay, I want to be either the same level as Taylor Swift or bigger than that. We have been given this opportunity. God has given this. We are not going to stop at this level that only we can comprehend. There's more than that. So we are going to go all the way. There's nothing's gonna stop. Yeah.
And I'm just also thinking back to bands like U2. I mean, they have their faith, and they may not be always explicit about it,
Yeah.
but Bono is.
Yes.
And they went all the way. And also they have their own sound, and they believe
Yes.
in themselves. And then I think the secret sauce,
Yes.
which not everyone has, is a God on their side.
Yeah.
And there is always a risk of us turning away from God and not going
Yes.
according to His will. But
Yeah.
listening to where you guys are at, and the journey that you have, I feel that God's on your side, and He wants to do something great
Of course.
in and through you guys.
There's so many prophecies that actually led us. Even before we left, so many pastors during my younger years, 3 different pastors from America, UK, and India. They all different times of my life, but they all prophesied the same thing and said, one day your music is going to be touching millions of lives. So I knew it is from God. That's why I always tell my band, we are here not because we are talented or anything. There are way more talented people, but the only reason we are here is because by the grace of God, and we don't have to be afraid because we have the greatest manager, which is God.
So, final words for those out there who are aspiring to be to have a career in music or following their art.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
I mean, I know people are going to tell you it's very hard and all. Let them. It's not their dream. Your dream, you have to protect.
Be
it,
your
right?
own.
Yes, be your own. You protect your dream, because if you don't, that dream
No
is
one else
gone. But for me, if you want, ask my personal advice, it's trust God, pray, and let Him lead. because I tried so many things on my own, it failed, and it led to disappointments. Led to all that. But when I surrendered completely to God, that's when I started seeing everything going so smoothly. And I'm like, oh wow! So all this while I've been like struggling for no reason. Yeah. But the moment I asked God, like, God, you do it, you can do it, and then everything just fell into peace.
I think that's a great word.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you so much to spend
pleasure.
your time here in the studio.
My pleasure.
I see this as you are on a trajectory to something bigger, and we are listening to you in the
appreciate that.
midpoint,
Thank you.
and wishing you all the best. And I'm so proud to have been in small ways part of that journey.
That's a reason, right? We all meet for a reason.
Yeah. So wish you all the best, Gerald,
you.
Storm, and beat the system and go all out and make Malaysia proud.
Thank you very much.
So there you have it. You've been listening to Gerald Storm from the band Beat the System, making waves in the US. And you want to look out for them and definitely check them out. Where can they check out your work, Gerald?
Oh, okay. So you can actually check us out on facebook.com/BT System Band. Same website is beatthesystemband.com. Same, so all our social media the handle is BT System Band.
Okay. Where can they download your music?
iTunes. You can check us out on Spotify. Everywhere, like all the digital stores everywhere.
Great. Okay. So you've been listening to Jason on Rhema Radio, the weekly podcast on faith, culture, music, and more.
As I'm standing on the ledge, reminiscing all I through rise. Love's battlefield feels like fighting in a ring of fire. Day by day, time after time, it feels like just yesterday, baby, you and I were meant to be together. Remember those vows that were made throughout the summer of 1995. I apologize, not making through the pits and trials. Step by step, I promise you will make it through all the pain and hurt, 'cause you and I were meant to breathe together. Here in my arms, oh, I'll take you by my side. We hold our arms, don't make it known. Nothing can separate us now. Let me be the one that I should be. It's the only path that I was in. It's gone too fast because you're here. Wonder where I'd be without your love. I'll never be the same again. I'll never be the same again. Never be the same again. My tears, they crawl, screaming out your name as they fall, flowing down like a river. Your soul felt like a sea with waves of emotion, waves of emotion. We hold our arms to make it known.
This segment features music from Beat the System. This episode was edited and mixed by Veronica Ng and recorded by Moses Chan at Prodeo Studio. Do connect with us at facebook.com/RhemaRad.10. Comment, like, and share our weekly show so we can do more. Tune in next week for the next midweek service and interview. Till then, be a blessing everywhere God has placed us.
Oh, I'll take you by my side. Never be the same again. I'll never be the same again. I'll never be the same again. Here in my arms, here in my love.
I found it on Rhema Radio.